The dawn's light filtered through the faded curtains of the small apartment in south-central Los Angeles. Ethan Martinez, a 12-year-old boy with messy brown hair, concentrated on a piece of cardboard he had found behind the supermarket. With a black marker borrowed from school, he carefully wrote each letter. "Hey, champ, already awake?" Elena Martinez entered the kitchen wearing her nursing assistant uniform, her exhaustion visible after yet another double shift. Widowed for 2 years, she struggled to raise Ethan and his sister Sophia, 16, who suffered from cystic fibrosis. "I'm finishing my sign, Mom," replied Ethan, trying to hide it. Elena approached, reading the words. "Steph Curry, I need help to save my sister. Please." "Ethan, darling." "It will work, Mom. The Warriors are playing against the Lakers tomorrow. I got tickets." Ethan opened his worn backpack and showed 2 tickets. "How did you—" "Mr. Rodriguez," explained Ethan, referring to the grocery store owner where he did odd jobs. "His son works security at the Staples Center and got these tickets." Elena sat down slowly. "I understand you want to help Sophia, but we can't rely on miracles." The situation was critical. The health insurance covered only the basics of treatment. The new experimental medication cost more than $50,000 per year, completely beyond the family's reach. "It's not a miracle, Mom. I saw how Curry helped that family in Oakland. He has a foundation. I just need him to see me." "Who's going with you?" "Miguel said he'll go with me," responded Ethan, mentioning his best friend. Elena looked through the window at the cloudy Los Angeles sky. Her instinct was to protect Ethan from disappointment, but she also knew she needed to let him try. "All right. But promise you won't be devastated if it doesn't work." Ethan hugged his mother tightly. "It will work. I'm sure of it." That night, Ethan went to Sophia's room. She was sitting in bed, connected to the oxygen concentrator, reading a book about astronomy. "Can I come in?" asked Ethan. "Of course, astronaut," answered Sophia with a smile, using her brother's childhood nickname. Ethan revealed the sign and explained his plan. Unlike their mother, Sophia didn't try to dissuade him. "That's very brave of you," she said simply, holding her brother's hand. "But remember that you're already my hero, regardless of what happens tomorrow. I'll get help for you, Soph, I promise." As rain began to fall over Los Angeles, Ethan fell asleep with the sign beside his bed, and his head full of hopes. Friday dawned with a gray sky over Los Angeles. Wearing his only Warriors t-shirt, Ethan checked his sign for the 10th time. "Don't forget your jacket," reminded Elena, "and keep your phone on." Miguel, a skinny boy with a contagious smile, arrived punctually. He wore a Lakers t-shirt, creating a contrast with Ethan's. "Ready to see the Lakers defeat your team?" Miguel teased. "Not even in dreams," Ethan shot back. "But today isn't about the game. It's about making Curry see my sign." The two took the bus to downtown Los Angeles. As they advanced through the streets, Ethan observed the landscape, from the deteriorated buildings of his neighborhood to the gleaming skyscrapers downtown. "Do you think it will work?" asked Miguel as they approached the Staples Center, where a crowd was already forming. "It has to work. I don't have a plan B." At the entrance, security guards checked bags and tickets. Ethan's heart raced when a guard asked to see the contents of his bag. "What's this, kid?" It's a sign to cheer," Ethan lied, fearing they wouldn't let him in. With tickets verified, the boys entered the enormous lobby. Ethan had never been in such a grand place. The gleaming lights, the smell of popcorn, people in colorful shirts, everything seemed like it was from a dream. "Our seats are up there," said Miguel, pointing to the upper stands. "Section 300 and 2. Ethan's heart sank. From so far away, how could Curry possibly see his sign? In the stands, they sat among enthusiastic fans. An older gentleman next to them noticed Ethan's worried expression. "First time at the Staples?" he asked kindly. "Yes, sir. I came to try to make Steph Curry see my sign, but we're too far away." "May I see it?" Hesitantly, Ethan showed the sign to the man, who introduced himself as Charlie, a retired teacher. Charlie read the sign, and his eyes softened. "Your sister is sick?" Ethan nodded and told him about Sophia and the medication the family couldn't afford. "I have a friend who works here. Maybe he can help." Minutes later, Charlie introduced Ethan to Tom, a game production employee. "You want Curry to see your sign?" "Please," begged Ethan. "My sister really needs help." Tom studied the sign. "I can't promise anything, but I know one of the Warriors' coaching assistants. Go back to your seats. If it works out, someone will come get you during..." Halftime. The first half passed like a blur. When the siren sounded announcing halftime, Ethan had almost lost hope. It was then that he saw an employee coming up the stairs toward him. "Ethan Martinez?" Ethan stood up, his legs trembling. "That's me." "Come with me, please." The employee led Ethan and Miguel through corridors restricted to the public. They passed doors marked "Authorized Personnel Only" until they reached the area near the locker rooms. "Wait here," instructed the employee. "The team will pass through this corridor after halftime. You'll have a few seconds." Ethan held the sign so tightly his fingers were white. Suddenly, the sound of voices and footsteps echoed through the corridor. The Golden State Warriors team was approaching. "This is it," whispered Miguel. When the players began to pass, Ethan raised his sign. "Steph Curry!" he called out, his voice surprisingly strong. "Please!" Most players passed by directly, focused on the game. For a devastating moment, it seemed Curry wouldn't notice either. But then, the famous point guard turned his head. His eyes found first the sign and then the anxious face of the boy. Curry stopped. "Wait," he said to the coaching assistant, who was trying to hurry him along. He approached Ethan, whose heart seemed about to explode. "What's your name, kid?" "Ethan Martinez, sir. My sister has cystic fibrosis and needs a new medication we can't afford." Curry studied Ethan's face for a moment. "How old is your sister?" 16, sir. Her name is Sophia." One of the assistants approached. "Steph, we need to go. The game's about to restart." Curry nodded, but asked, "Do you have a phone, Ethan?" Trembling, Ethan took his cell phone from his pocket. Curry asked the assistant to write something down. "This is Nick's contact. My personal assistant," explained Curry. "Send him a message after the game with your information and details about your sister's situation." "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much," stammered Ethan, tears forming in his eyes. "Hey," said Curry, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You're an amazing brother for doing this. Family is everything." Then Curry removed his wristband and handed it to the boy. "This is for Sophia. Tell her we're rooting for her." With that, Curry had to join the rest of the team. The assistant led the boys to a section closer to the court to watch the rest of the game. "Dude, he talked to you!" exclaimed Miguel. "And he gave you his wristband." During the second half, Curry played with remarkable intensity, scoring 3 consecutive three-pointers at a crucial moment. After the third, he looked in the direction where Ethan was sitting and made a small nod. After the game, Ethan sent a message to the number he had received. The response came almost immediately, requesting his complete address and more information about Sophia. At the exit of the Staples Center, under a light rain, Ethan felt as if he were floating. "Do you think he'll really help?" asked Miguel. "I don't know," Ethan answered honestly. "But he heard me, Miguel. He really heard me." That night, arriving home, Ethan found his mother and Sophia anxiously waiting. When he told them what had happened, showing the wristband and the contact in his phone as proof, Elena covered her mouth with her hands, silent tears streaming down her face. Sophia held the wristband as if it were a treasure. "He really said he was rooting for me?" "Yes," confirmed Ethan. "He said, 'Family is everything.'" 3 days passed without news, and Ethan began to fear that his encounter might not result in anything concrete. On Wednesday, someone knocked at the apartment door. "Who is it?" asked Elena cautiously. "My name is Daniel Thompson, from the Curry Foundation," replied a male voice. "I'm looking for the Martinez family." Elena opened the door to reveal a well-dressed man carrying a folder. At the small kitchen table, Daniel explained that Curry had been deeply touched by Ethan's initiative. "Stephen asked us to act quickly in this case," said Daniel, removing some documents. "The Curry Foundation would like to completely cover the costs of Sophia's experimental treatment for the initial period of 3 years, with a possibility of extension." Elena covered her face with her hands, unable to contain her tears. This can't be real." "It's very real, ma'am. Additionally, we would like to connect you with specialists who collaborate with our foundation to ensure Sophia has the best available treatment." Sophia, who had heard everything from her room, appeared in the doorway. "Does this mean I can go back to school?" Daniel smiled at her. "That's exactly the goal. And there's one more thing." He took out an envelope. "Curry found out it's your birthday next week and would like you to be his special guests when the Warriors play against the Clippers here in LA." The news spread quickly. A video of Ethan's encounter with Curry, recorded by a Staples Center employee, went viral on social media. The story touched a national nerve, raising discussions about medication costs and how working families often cannot afford essential treatments. Several major media outlets highlighted how Curry's gesture had changed the Martinez family's life. On Sunday of the following week, Ethan, Sophia, and Elena were welcomed as VIPs at the Staples Center. This time, they sat in the front row, with Sophia wearing the wristband Curry had given to Ethan. Before the game, Curry came personally to greet them. "How are you feeling, Sophia?" he asked, kneeling to be at the same level as the wheelchair she was using. "Better," she replied with a shy smile. "I started the new medication yesterday." "Great," said Curry, with a genuine smile. He turned to Ethan. "And you, young man? How are you handling all this attention?" Ethan shrugged. "I just wanted to help my sister." "That's what real champions do," replied Curry. "They stand up for others when no one else will." During halftime, Curry took the microphone at center court. "Today, I want to recognize a very special family," he said, pointing to the Martinezes. He briefly told the story of Ethan and Sophia. "This young man reminded me why we do what we do," concluded Curry. "It's not just about basketball or championships. It's about the impact we can have beyond the courts. It's about family, community, and never giving up on each other." The crowd gave a standing ovation, many with tears in their eyes as the camera focused on Ethan's embarrassed but proud face. In the following weeks, the Martinez's lives underwent significant transformations. A doctor specializing in cystic fibrosis offered to supervise Sophia's treatment for free. A local company offered Elena a position with flexible hours and better pay. Almost 2 months later, Ethan was invited to speak at his school about his experience. "Many people call me a hero," he said. But I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just loved my sister enough to try something that seemed impossible. In the front row, Sophia watched her brother with pride. Her face was rosier, her breathing easier. The new medication was working. The real lesson I learned, continued Ethan, is that sometimes help comes from unexpected places, and that we all have the power to make a difference, even when it seems like we have no power at all. In their home that night, Elena observed her children through the kitchen door. Curry's wristband, now framed along with a photo of the three of them with the player, occupied a prominent place on the wall. Elena smiled, remembering her late husband's words, "Hope is the last to die, but the first to make miracles." Across the country, at a press conference, a reporter asked Curry about the Martinez family. "Ethan taught me an important lesson," he responded. "Sometimes we're so focused on scoring points that we forget the bigger game happening off the courts. That kid with a sign reminded me why I started playing in the first place, to inspire and make a difference." The story of Ethan, Sophia, and Steph Curry continued to circulate, inspiring others to act. In a frequently divided world, the image of a boy with a sign and a superstar who stopped to listen served as a powerful reminder. Sometimes, the greatest victory isn't recorded on the scoreboard, but in the hearts we touch along the way.